Stand by SOT1.
Standing.
10 seconds. Ready, rollin'. Ready, SOT1.
Ready.
In 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll in.
From legendary Uncle Studios in beautiful Southern California, welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters, the central location for you employees, you employers, and of course, we haven't forgotten about you damn independent contractors. And now, here's this week's edition of Work Comp Matters. It's July 6, 12 noon straight up. Welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters. My name is Steve Appell. We are brought to you by the workcompcentral.com. If you want the number one location for workers' compensation in both California and around the United States of America, check out the workcompcentral.com. They've got a free 7-day offer, and if you want to pick up their services, I have them, and you should too. It's only $1 a day. We also pimp out A1 Law here on Work Comp Matters, 818-357-4120 for the best workers' compensation computer management system. A1 Law, 818-357-4120. No strings attached, money back guarantee. Also, $1 a day, A1 Law. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm joined by the madman across the water, John Scalia, and my chief of staff, the doctor, but he's not a medical doctor, Mike Zyma. And I just lost my copy. See what happens when I adjust the microphone? I just lost my news copy. Well, firstly, I wanted to hope everybody had a great, safe 4th of July. I know I heard it more than normal. I know that the complaints to the fire department were more than normal, and that's because LA County and the city, and I think the state, started to basically said, no more public fireworks, at least for the past 4th of July. So what do you think is going to happen? It's just like guns. I mean, you couldn't find anything anywhere. And so now the people were shooting them off on their own. And no, that's not exactly like guns. But if you tried to buy a gun lately, you can't. And I think that's good for some of you listeners. So I don't want you having a gun. I don't want one. I've never had one before. Mike and I use baseball bats, okay? And we don't keep any cash in the office. So if you're coming to take some important documents, bring a subpoena, please. But nevertheless, the numbers are out. And it looks like just about 3 million people in the United States have been diagnosed with COVID-19. 250,000 people have been diagnosed in California, and 100,000 have been diagnosed in beautiful Los Angeles. Yes, it appears that just about 1% of the population has been infected by COVID-19, and the numbers are just going up and up. Coronavirus hospitalizations continued to rise, and more counties were added yesterday to the GAVS, that's Governor Gavin Newsom, COVID-19 watch list, which is now at its highest level since the pandemic began. The rate at which coronavirus tests in California are coming back positive has jumped 42% over the last 2 weeks, according to Los Angeles Times data. The 4th of July marked the 15th consecutive day that California has tallied record hospitalizations and numbers of confirmed coronavirus patients. Mike, how was your 4th of July? What's your take, babe?
Well, I am continuing to watch those numbers, and I'm continuing to be concerned about those numbers in Los Angeles County because, as I may have said before, our daughter is getting to the point where she's very pregnant. And although she is very cautious, it's still something that freaks me out, the worry, if I allow it to. However, there are hotter spots I wouldn't want to be in Houston. I wouldn't want to be in South Florida. So that's my take on it.
John, you're out in Munich, Germany. Talk to me.
Well, I went to dinner with a group of friends, acquaintances. We're getting back together. We were in the courtyard, and there were 10 of us. It was a normal dinner. There was no particular social distancing among the guests, and we had a great time. It was very enjoyable. We sat around, chatted, had good food and good drink, and that was that. So it was an enjoyable Fourth.
You know, but it was outside, right, John?
Pardon?
It was outside, correct?
Well, we were outside, but they allow inside now too. I mean, the first dinner I went to, because it was raining, we originally were outside, and then they just moved us to an inside table.
Yeah, is there any distancing on the inside? Sorry,
inside.
Steve, is there any?
I'm sorry, I was just gonna let John know that basically all restaurants and bars are closed here in Southern California. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, there was no social distancing inside. It was just a normal get together with friends and acquaintances. We just sat down and had dinner, and it was just like before.
So Germany is pretty much just back to normal, correct?
Most of it, yeah.
Are the gyms open?
We did a great job. We did a great job here.
Yeah, are the gyms open?
I don't know. I think they might be, but I have no idea. I lift weights, but I do it on my balcony.
Okay, so
I've heard that gyms are going to be slowly but surely going out of business. They are not going to last. People are doing what John just mentioned. They're working out at home. They're buying their own, and gyms are going to have huge problems in the future. There's no cure or vaccine yet for COVID-19, but Bay Area doctors now have months of experience treating the illness using what they've learned from similar respiratory diseases while absorbing new research and trying out different drugs to help people heal. Those frontline health professionals say the shelter-in-place orders put in place back in March bought them valuable time to learn how to treat the disease before seeing more cases. There's a story in the news today regarding the United States Supreme Court and those pesky delegates. And John has it right now. John, you know what? Actually, let me do just a brief feed in. Hang on really quickly. The Supreme Court rules Electoral College representatives must honor choice of states' voters. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, interestingly enough, as some of you who read my blogs, the 2 or 3 of you know, I actually take my shots at so-called liberals in America too, because for a lot of reasons I think they are subject to the same frailties that all Americans are, which is, no one ever taught them to reason. But anyhow,
I thought it was that at least one of them drinks beer.
But I was, and people, and the liberals especially, have been saying, well, Donald Trump lost the popular vote, and it's all the fault of the Electoral College, and we should get rid of it. To which my response has always been, well, it's been around since the founding of the Republic, and there were good reasons for it. And even though you may not like the result that it produces, the reasons still stand up. And besides that, as the old saying goes, if something's worked for 250 years, it probably shouldn't change it. So today, the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, when people vote for their electoral representatives, which is actually who you're voting for, that ticket is committed. Those slate of electors are committed to voting for the guy you cast your vote for. And what they're saying is, no, the electors do not have the option to vote for somebody else, because otherwise it would be bait and switch. If they figured that a guy was going to win and they wanted the other guy or girl to win, they would simply say, well, I'm going to be an electorate for the one who's going to win. And then when I'll take the vote, I'll change. Now, obviously, that's ridiculous. So the Supreme Court today unanimously said, look, The Electoral College has been here for 250 years. It works. And when you vote on your ticket, you're telling the elector who to vote for, and it's binding. I think, and it was heartening to see that it was a unanimous decision.
And John, they certainly got this right, and it's wonderful that it's unanimous.
Yes, they got it right, but even more deeper. And this is not an issue that was to put that was put forth before the Supreme Court, but of course is what everybody's talking about, is whether or not the Electoral College should be eliminated. And John touched that it's been around for 275 years, whatever it is, 250 years, and there's a reason for it. The reason why you will never see the smaller states voting to go on a popular vote is because the smaller states get a much greater bang for their buck. And let me explain why briefly. If you take the population and you divide by the amount of electoral votes we have in the presidential election in California, which, if I'm not mistaken, is about 750,000 people for one electoral college vote. You go back to Rhode Island, you go back to Connecticut, you go back to the smaller states, Virginia, your electoral college vote is represented by only about 250,000 people. This is why the electoral college votes remains, because the smaller states the states with smaller populations on the East Coast get a bigger bang for their buck than they do out here in California. John?
Yeah, absolutely. But let's be fair. The fact is California has by far the largest single block of electoral votes. So it's apportioned according to the population. So the big states still have the most votes. The difference is that if a bunch of little states are together, or even the five swing states that Trump won in the last election, that's enough to give you a majority in electoral college. In fact, he only won by 10 or 15,000 in each of those states, but since he won all of them, the electoral college vote was a landslide for Trump. It was like by over 100 votes. So, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Exactly. It's our classic checks and balance systems, because regardless of how many people are in a state, each state gets 2 United States senators. Mm-hmm. The House of Representatives in each state are based in population, which clearly California, 40 million people, New York, 40 million people. They're going to have. New York has fewer. I was referring to the state. Yes. I think the state of New York has about 40 million.
No. It's not even close to California's population.
Okay, John.
California passed New York way long time ago.
California has 40 million people. We have the most amount of House of Representatives in the state, yet we still only have 2 United States senators. And when it comes to based on the population divided by the electoral college vote, California is less represented. My name's Steve Appell.
Oh, yeah, I just Googled it. Yes. New York State has little under 20 million people.
Okay. All right. Very good. No. Thank you. John, why that's your checks and balances for Work Comp Matters. And that's why you're there to verify that everything I say is not fake news. Okay. My name's Steve Appell. You're dialed into Work Comp Matters. We're brought to you by the workcompcentral.com. If you want the #1 location for workers' compensation, check out the workcompcentral.com. They've got a free 7-day offer. And if you want to pick up their services, I have them. You should too. It's only $1 a day. Work Comp Matters is also brought to you by A1 Law, #1 computer management system, 818-357-4120 for your no strings attached money back guarantee. $1 a day. A1 Law. Fresno County surpassed 6,000 total coronavirus cases Saturday, with the health department reporting 259 new positive test results for COVID-19. No additional deaths were reported, leaving fatalities at 77. 17 more patients were listed as recovered for a total of 1,369, and 2 more having been hospitalized at some point for a total of 394. That story has way too many numbers. Sorry about that, everybody. Mike, you've got the next news story.
Fireworks caused a surge in air pollution and 9/11 calls, with officials canceling 4th of July fireworks displays because of the coronavirus outbreaks. Many in Los Angeles County decided to put on their own show, leading to an increase in both air pollution and calls for emergency services. LA firefighters responded to thousands of emergency calls Saturday and extinguished at least one large blaze that consumed half an apartment complex in Northridge. The fireworks also caused levels of fine particle pollution to skyrocket, leading air quality to be rated as hazardous in some areas well into the following morning. Quote, "It definitely was one of our worst years for July 4th and July 5th fireworks episodes," end quote, said Philip Fine, Deputy Executive Officer for Planning and Rules for the South Coast Air Quality Management District. And you know, folks, I saw some aerial coverage of Saturday night in the San Fernando Valley, and it looked like one big fireworks display.
And Mike, thank you very much for that. New state restrictions on bars and restaurants in counties with the worst virus control numbers are supposed to expire after 3 weeks, but few public health experts believe the bans on indoor gatherings and outdoor drinking will drop cases low enough for these activities to resume anytime soon. The dramatic move is the state's attempt to rein in runaway case totals that have inched ever higher home and outdoors. Well, this is no secret to me. I ran the numbers at the start of the show, and numbers don't lie. 3 million in the United States, 250,000 in California, 100,000 in Los Angeles. That's 1%. That means even if the numbers are off by 1 or 200%, you've still got more than 95% of the people have not been affected that we know of. Hell, what we know of, 99% of the population has not been infected. Well, there is no virus. There is no cure. This thing is not only as contagious, arguably it's morphed into a couple of other things. It's arguably more contagious than it was 3 months ago. So more people are going to get it. You can social distance all you want, unless you're going to quarantine everybody. More people are going to get the disease. The numbers are not going down, folks. The numbers are only going up. Numbers don't lie. John?
I think that's correct.
John is heavily digesting what I just said. He's thinking about how to respond.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree the numbers are just going up. I'm not sure, I don't know what you can do at that stage. I mean, obviously what we do know is that large, social contact is how the disease is passed from person to person. It's person-to-person contact. So we know that. So in areas where the disease is high, the old recommendations about social distancing or physical distancing obviously make sense. The problem is, in the United States, people don't pay attention to rules and regulations. And so when you try to have physical distancing enforced, it's a hopeless task.
Well,
So
John, I'm sorry for interrupting. We've had this conversation on the show many times that everybody, most of the people in Germany are compliant. The United States is the wild, wild west. However, over 95% of us here in the U.S. don't have it. That sounds pretty compliant to me. Yeah. I mean, Mike, am I missing something?
Well, I mean, I would add the word yet after that sentence. 95% don't have it yet.
Well, John, if you know, how many diagnosed cases are there in Germany or Munich, Germany, and what's the population? What percentage have it?
I have no idea at this point. The population of Germany is close. It's almost 90 million. But I have no idea what the numbers are at this point. I know that almost every German state is pretty much opening up like we are. There's a few hot spots. The hot spots that occurred lately were as a result of meat packing plants, because Germans eat a lot of meat. And so the meat packing plants were hot spots. Plus they employ a lot of Eastern Europeans, and apparently they weren't careful enough about ensuring safety in the workplace. So
what about assisted living old age homes in Germany?
Apparently it hasn't been any particular problem. But again, I think that's due to the fact that the social systems here are very strong.
I was going to say that's incredible, because here in the United States, I've made no secret of it. Minimum 50% of the deaths are due to nursing homes and assisted livings. And that may be as high as 67 or 75%. And you're telling me that in Munich, Germany, it's not consequential. It's de minimis.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you put it, let me put it in perspective for you. In Germany, we have as many old people, and that means me, but we have as many old people as Italy. Okay. And yet we didn't have the same problem. Italy had a disaster with it. In Germany, it wasn't that way. I mean, even though we have the same allegedly vulnerable population, we weren't impacted like the Italians. And strangely enough, the biggest area in Italy that got hit was the wealthiest area in Italy. It was a really wealthy area. It was in Tuscany, and it was the wealthiest part of Italy. So it wasn't a poor area at all. So, but anyway, yeah, in Germany, we just managed to do what we thought was necessary, and fortunately it worked.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Mike, you wanted a segment on prisons, and then we're going to close the show with the greatest pastime of all time. Go ahead, Mike. What do you got on prison?
Okay. A third death row inmate from San Quentin apparently died from COVID-19, officials announced Saturday, bringing the number of inmates across the state to die after contracting the coronavirus to at least 25. On Friday, convicted child killer Scott Thomas Erskine and Manuel Machado Alvarez, who was convicted for a Sacramento County crime spree that included rape, murder, and a carjacking, both died on Friday from, quote, what appears to be complications related to COVID-19, and quote, the California Department of Corrections and Rehab said in a news release. And in another related story, as California enters another dangerous fire season, the COVID-19 pandemic has depleted the ranks of inmate fire crews that are a key component of the state's efforts to battle out-of-control wildfires. This week, state prison officials announced they had placed 12 of the state's 43 inmate fire camps on lockdown due to a massive outbreak at a Northern California prison in Lassen County that serves as the training center for fire crews.
And I thank you very much for that. And Scott, just as a note, listen to the playback during Mike's segment for the echo, and we'll talk about it after the show. John, before we go to the national pastime, you got any closing thoughts, burning desires?
I have a story to read. I can find it. It's
go ahead.
Okay, this is from the LA Times. And women say they were groped, violated by police during LA curfew arrests. It was just getting dark when Julia Dupuy was handcuffed on a curfew violation, walked by two LAPD officers to a fence on the side of an empty church, beyond the watchful eye of nearby apartment residents and a good 15 feet from the next protester. Do you think it's a female? She heard one of the male cops say to the other with a laugh. Dupuy, who is gender nonconforming but identifies as a woman, felt paralyzed with fear. It goes on to say that she was inappropriately touched at one of her breasts. Dupuy saw the officer's actions not as an accident, but as part of a broader pattern of sexual harassment experienced by women and gender nonconforming protesters at the hands of LAPD officers during recent protests and curfew arrests. Other arrestees on the bus she was eventually put on told Dupuy that they too have been inappropriately searched, she said. They are not alone. Among the growing ranks of protesters who have filed complaints, joined lawsuits, and otherwise pushed back against the tactics used by the LAPD and other area law enforcement agencies in the heated days of late May and early June are women who say they were targeted by male officers and groped, sexually harassed, or inappropriately searched. And the article goes on. Anyway, there you have it. Talk about police abuse.
Thank you very much for talking about the inappropriate groping at the hands of law enforcement. If that is not tongue-in-cheek, I don't know what is. Mike, you're going to close the show out with a story about the national pastime.
The long-lost sight of Major League ball players having a catch, laughing with one another, and carrying their bats to the practice cages reappeared at Oracle Park on Friday when the Giants held their first workout of summer camp to prepare for a truncated season. The price of admission for beat writers was signing a liability waiver that ran 3 single-space pages, contained 8 sections and 17 subsections, made 25 references to COVID-19, and 3 times featured the word death.
Okay, so if you are a sports journalist, basically you're signing your life away if you want to come see practice in San Francisco.
Yep. I'm sure that's the way it is all around the league. I'm sure that's the way it is all the way around the league.
And that's the way it is. My name is Steve Appell. I want to thank you for joining in another lively edition of Work Comp Matters. We are, of course, brought to you by workcompcentral.com. If you want the #1 location for workers' compensation in both California and around the United States, check out workcompcentral.com. They've got a free 7-day offer. We are brought to you also by A1 Law, #1 computer management system, 818-357-4120. For Scott Walton of Legendary Uncle Studios, for my Chief of Staff, Dr. Mike Zyma, for the madman across the water, my name is Steve Appell. We'll see you again tomorrow at noon for another edition of Work Comp Matters.